Good morning. This is Gary with Colorado Avid Cyclist, and today we are talking to Pete Piccolo of Bicycle Colorado. Did I pronounce that right, Pete?
Close, better than most
Okay.
people. Piccolo.
Okay. Sorry about
Piccolo.
that.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
We are, and when I say we, Colorado Avid Cyclist, this year has become we feel a good supporter of Bicycle Colorado. They're an awesome organization. And rather than me tell you about the organization, I think Pete can tell you about it and what they're doing and why we want to support them so much. Go ahead, Pete.
Well, first, Gary, it's good to see you, and
Thanks.
thanks for supporting Bicycle Colorado. We appreciate it. So, for your listeners who are not familiar with Bicycle Colorado, we are a 501c3 nonprofit established in 1992. So we've been at this a long time, and the whole focus of our work, our purpose for existing, is to ensure that anyone who wants to ride a bike, regardless of their age or their ability or their zip code, or whether they're riding to get some exercise or commuting to school or work, everyone should feel and be safe when they're riding their bike. And we focus on three things to achieve that vision. The first is we advocate for policies and funding that prioritize the safety of bicyclists and pedestrians. We offer an array of educational services that range from learn to ride for people of all ages, but who are just starting to ride a bike, to people who ride a bike and want to be able to maybe commute to work and feel more confident doing so, all the way to driver training courses that prioritize or focus on the safety of bicyclists and pedestrians. And then our third focus area is to support the 200 plus competitive and recreational bike events across the state. And we are a member supported organization. We have over 10,000 paying members and roughly 20,000 other people who sign up for our newsletters and follow us on social media. And many of those people then engage in our advocacy work in a variety of different ways. Without those members, without those supporters, we just wouldn't be able to do the work that we do and have the success that we've had over 3 decades now.
How long have you been with Bicycle Colorado, Pete?
Oh my goodness. I should know the answer to this question.
That's how you know you're in my age group, when you have to
I was just going to say that.
About that.
I don't know. I remember my parents when I was younger, they would like forget their birthday or they forget. I'm like, how do you not know something like this? How long you work? Jeez, I'm getting old. I think this is my 7th year.
Okay.
I think that's right. 7th year as executive director. That's right around there. 6, 7.
Well, when people
look at my LinkedIn, it's on my LinkedIn profile.
Hey, when did you start Colorado Avid Cyclist? I have to think of landmarks, things and I have to go back to a broken kneecap. That's how it started. So I know the feeling.
There you go. A little pain and suffering to ground you. Yeah.
So I know there was a pretty big bill that at least passed the legislative part and is heading towards Polis to sign regarding distracted driving. Tell me about that.
Yeah, it's Senate Bill 65, and it passed the House and the Senate last night, just a few hours before the General Assembly adjourned for the year, because we have a seasonal legislature. And we and other advocates, not just bike advocates, but safety advocates, people from the motorcycle community, have been working on this bill since 2018. This is actually the 5th attempt.
Wow.
And we feel pretty good about this bill. So in a nutshell, starting on January 1, assuming the governor signs the bill, which we are very confident he will, starting on January 1 in the state of Colorado, it'll be against the law to hold your phone while driving. That's the bill in a nutshell. There are 29 states that already have this legislation. New York was the first back in 2001. And the majority of the data, the majority of the research coming out of states that have this bill show that it reduces distracted driving, reduces crashes, reduces fatalities. You know, it's not perfect. The people are still going to drive distracted. There are other things that distract us, but it's a step in the right direction. And so, again, we feel good about this piece of legislation. And we do think it's going to make our roads safer for everyone.
You know, I was just wondering, do you think it is going to be something that is going to be actively enforced, or is it going to be more the push of the awareness thing? You
It'll
know,
be both. It'll be both.
a
So
combination.
there's a provision in the bill that requires education, and as we learn from the other states that have the legislation, it is a combination of education and enforcement. Ideally, of course, the education would just convince people to not pick up their phones, and there would be no need for enforcement. Nobody would get pulled over. Nobody would get ticketed. But the states who have seen the greatest benefit from the legislation have a combination of the two. And so we're excited to work with other advocates across the state, law enforcement, transportation agencies to put together this education program to hopefully convince people to leave their phones down. And then, yeah, there's going to be some enforcement. There's going to be some
Sure.
enforcement. And I think it'll probably, vary across the state because we have numerous law enforcement agencies. So obviously, at the state level, we have Colorado State Patrol, but then you have municipal level law enforcement. And I think we'll see varying degrees of enforcement across the state. But ultimately, to answer your question, yeah, it's going to be a combination of the two.
Yeah, one of the things that and I was talking to somebody about yesterday, it's if you get caught, if you actually have an accident with a bicycle and you were distracted, you're in big trouble. It's kind of it adds on to the penalty, adds on to the arrest. I would think, just like a DUI, get into an accident, but they smell alcohol, that adds on to it. But if they find out you were on your phone, look at it, and they say, "Hey, you were live on the phone," adds to it. But also it's going to apply if you get into an accident or while you're driving just around cars as well. We're concerned about the bicycle pedestrian, but also I cannot tell you how many times I've seen car accidents that you knew the fender bender was because somebody was here.
Right.
Especially in rush hour traffic. But hopefully, I'm hoping, I would love to see arrests for it. But I also hope to see it just grow in an awareness that you almost feel like, okay, I can't do this because if something happens, it's going to up my penalty. It's going to add on to it.
Yeah, and hopefully it'll become second nature, like a seatbelt. I think the vast majority of us buckle our seatbelt. It started with a piece of legislation, and then it just became common practice. It became habit, and I'm hopeful that we'll get there, where it just becomes habit. Or like in the case of driving under the influence, where it has become a public stain or
it's a shame,
embarrassment, right? It's a shame thing, right? Where I grew up in Buffalo, child of the 70s and 80s, drinking and driving was quite common, and nobody thought anything about it. Like people would put down a 6-pack and then go drive, and that's what. And today it is a stain, it is an embarrassment, and people don't do it. I mean, they do it, of course. It's still a problem, but we've seen a decline in part because of stronger drunk driving laws, thanks in large part to Mothers Against Drunk Driving. But then it's become a cultural shift, and hopefully we'll see that cultural shift here, where you don't want to be that person,
exactly,
holding their phone while they're driving.
And like you were saying, you brought up alcohol. I was thinking the same thing, and it's almost the thought process of you get into an accident and it could be the other guy's fault, but if you've been drinking, you're done. You're pretty much, it's your fault. And I'm hoping the same thing will happen with this. Yeah. If you get into an accident, think about that. If you get into an accident and you were on your phone, dude, it's going to be your fault.
Right. Yeah.
Even if they come at 90 miles an hour at you, it's going to be your fault.
Yeah. Right.
So I'm hoping that awareness, and I like it's a stigma or almost shame. I would love it to go that way.
Yeah. And so again, it's been a long road. And what's interesting about the policy work in general, and work at the legislature is rarely is it easy, and it probably shouldn't be. It shouldn't be easy to pass a law. And people are surprised, like the cycling community, when I tell them that this work started in 2018 and the bill has been rejected 4 times, it's mind-boggling to people. Yet, I do think at the end of the day, the debate that unfolds in our democracy that happens at the legislature, the pushback on legislation like this, while at times I wish it were much easier and the bill would sail through, at the end of the day, in most cases, I think we craft better legislation, and we're better off for it when we listen to the opposing point of view. So the bottom line is, it's going to the governor's desk. He has 30 days to sign it, and we expect that to happen, and we expect we'll be celebrating when he does sign the bill.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that. It's pretty exciting. When I found out yesterday afternoon, late afternoon, early evening, that it was on his way to his desk, I was pretty psyched. So
yeah.
So what else? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I wanted to. We don't have to spend too much time on legislation. It's a little bit wonky, and understandably, this bill has gotten a lot of attention. But I mean, it's been a good year for bike ped advocates in the legislature. There's a bill that enhances standards for driver education for youth. And there's a bill that called the Vulnerable Road User Protection Bill, which generates more funding for bike ped infrastructure. And these are important wins. So when we think about the solution set to create more safe spaces to bike and walk, there's built environment, the physical infrastructure, which requires money. We have a bill for that. It's around driver training and testing. We have a bill for that has passed. And, it's also about laws and enforcement, making sure we are behaving appropriately. We have a distracted driving bill for that. And so, again, keeping in mind, it's not easy to pass a law. The fact that we have like those 3, and there are others that we don't need to get into around land use, which tangentially benefits biking. The fact that we have 3, I'm afraid we're starting to spoil people. I mean, it's been a good couple of years. Last year, we automated traffic enforcement. We had the safety stop. It's just uncharacteristic to have this kind of string of success. But, here we are. We're going to be having, 3 bills that are really good for bicyclists.
Yeah. And I'm just wondering, you can just give me your opinion on that. Do you think, I want to say that the way these have come through, and you say we've been spoiled a little bit, do you think part of it had a pretty high cost? Because recently, just in the last several years, there have been a few high profile deaths. Cyclists that have gotten killed on Denver and Colorado roadways that were fairly high, very high profile, in fact. And I know that we wrote some articles about them on our site, but there were some major ones. Do you think part of that, the reason why these have went through a little bit, was because of, and I hate to say that was the cost of it, but that has brought a bigger awareness because those were so publicized. Everybody knew about them because they were horrific. It wasn't just one biker got, bumped by a car and it was unfortunate. It was the stuff that was almost like a bad movie. Some of those, 2 of them. Yeah.
Well, it has definitely created some forward momentum on legislation, on policy. And it's not just the individual stories of loss and grief. It is that. But, let's just dial out. Let's just zoom out for a minute and just let's ground this conversation a little bit of data.
Sure.
Which often shocks people. So CDOT publishes this on their website. And this data, by the way, also is animating these conversations and this work. and policymakers and the public in general now are beginning to dial into the fact that we have a public health epidemic that we call in the advocacy world traffic violence. Some people bristle at the term, but it's an accurate description.
Mhm.
Being hit and killed by a vehicle, it's violent. So the data is this: from 2002, when CDOT first began publishing traffic fatalities, from 2002 to 2023, 278 bicyclists have been killed. In 2002, 9 bicyclists were killed. In 2023, 20 bicyclists were killed. If you look at pedestrian deaths, which is kind of our kindred spirit of bicyclists, and we all kind of are in the same predicament of being vulnerable road users. There were 71 pedestrian deaths in 2002, 133 in 2023, a total of 1,594 deaths. So from 2022 to 2023, total bike ped deaths are 1,872. It's a public health epidemic, and the trend lines are moving in the wrong direction. Last year, 153 bicyclists and pedestrians were killed, at all-time high. And then when you look beneath that data, which is what we do in our advocacy work, or if you humanize the data, because you tend to look at the data points and these line charts that are moving in the wrong direction. And I mean, this is where, like, I'm so grateful to be able to do the work that I'm doing. And my teammates would say the same thing. Yet at the same time, we talk with many of the family members who have lost loved ones or people who have survived crashes, and the depth of loss and grief, it's inexplicable. I mean, it's just hard to put into words. And the fact that it happens so often. I mean, you think about 20 bicyclist deaths over the course of the year, and it's pretty seasonal throughout the state. So, those deaths are generally happening within like a 6 to 9 month window. And those family members start to speak up, which they did. Many of them did, in support of this distracted driving bill. Yeah, that makes a difference. That makes a difference when people learn about Magnus White, killed on July 29th, or Ollie Stratton, 10 years old, killed on August 3rd, or Liam Stewart, 13 years old, killed on October 17th. There's 3 deaths of children over 3 months riding their bike. Like, it's horrible, right? And that makes a difference. Those stories, people, our legislators listen, and finally they're like, yeah, we have to do something here. You have to do something. Yet there were 13 legislators in the House and Senate who voted against the hands-free bill, despite hearing those stories, and 29 states having the legislation. But again, that's part of the legislative
I saw
process.
some of the reasoning behind that, and I believe it was one of the articles that you guys had published, the pros and cons, or the fors and against, and I couldn't even read it and make it make sense on some
Was
of
it because of my bad writing?
No,
or
no,
the logic of their argument?
I just couldn't figure it out. I really
Yeah.
couldn't. When they brought up one of the things that had to do with racial profiling, I was like, oh my gosh, you're really digging deep to pull that one out as an excuse not to pass this.
Well, I will tell you, I think when I have to look back at the 13 no votes, but I think those legislators and the advocates for, I'm going to generalize a little bit, but police reform and racial justice ultimately ended up voting yes for the bill. We were able to negotiate with them and find common ground. I can't tell you the 13 no votes. I don't want to politicize this in a hyper-political world that we live in. And I do find the Colorado legislature, like, for those who are sour on politics, based on what we read and see at the federal level, I think Colorado is doing it quite well. And our representatives on both sides of the aisle are good people and trying to do good work. That being said, the 13 no votes were all Republicans. Our work is bipartisan. We are nonpartisan, and we work with all legislators who want to promote safety. The other argument that we didn't mention in that article, and I think probably showed up with some of these no votes, are more of a civil libertarian bent of it's government overreach and don't tell me what to do in my car. And the vast majority of Coloradans are good drivers. I had one police officer tell me 85%. He said 85% of people can drive and use their phone and it's fine. And I said, well, a 15% failure rate is horrible. It's horrible. Like people are dying.
Right.
People are dying.
So yeah, that number is
it's a horrible argument, right? It's a horrible argument.
That number is fine unless you're the victim of the 15%.
Exactly. I mean, I can't.
That is the most
insane,
ridiculous one. And I actually talked to one of those legislators in Douglas County. I had the opportunity to ran into him at a public kind of event, and I just asked him. So because he was on the whole racial profiling thing. And I just asked, and I just said, hey, do you have kids? And he said, yes, I do. So you're okay. I just want to make sure that you're okay. That if your kid was riding a bike and he was hit by somebody that was distracted because he was on his phone, and even if the guy was not speeding and he wasn't doing anything, he just could have avoided the accident. But he was on his phone and he, didn't react fast enough. You're okay with that, right? I just want to make sure you're going to be okay with that. You'll be able to leave the hospital. You'll be fine. And you'll be just glad that nobody was racially profiled. And he did not know what to say. Yeah. It became so obvious at that moment that that was just it was a straw man that they were using for political reasons.
Yeah.
So,
well, we don't need there's other stuff we can talk about. I'll just say, at times I was frustrated by those arguments. Yet, I always learn something when I listen deeply to opposing points of view. And, I am sensitive to talk about this topic as a middle-aged white guy with immense privilege. It's become clear to me that who I mostly listen to, what shapes my thinking on this work are like Michael and Jill White. Terry Vogel, husband of Chuck Vogel, was killed on July 4th, 2019. Mm-hmm. Like people who are getting killed by traffic violence and by distracted drivers. That is what I have in my head. The counter argument is they're talking to predominantly Black and brown people who have been racially profiled and who are afraid of the police, and that's animating their conversation. And somehow, like, we have to listen to each other. And like, I don't dismiss that concern at all. And it's a really difficult situation. I'll show you. This was in the piece, and I'll share it with you, and then we can move on to something else, Gary. But
sure, somebody shared with me. It was a really honest thing to say. Because there's a middle-aged Black man been riding his bike forever in bike commutes, and said to me, and this was again in the blog post, said, you know what, asking me whether I support this bill. Let me take a step back. He said, I have been racially profiled, and I'm afraid of being racially profiled. When I see the police, I tense up. I ride my bike all the time, and I'm terrified to get hit by a distracted driver. Asking me whether I support this bill is asking me whether I want to be racially profiled or hit by a distracted driver. And he decided to support the bill for a variety of reasons. So it's hard. Like it's hard. Like I get it. Mm-hmm. I'm not the one saying that the racially profiling art doesn't happen. But what we know for certain is people will get killed by a distracted driver. We know with a high degree of confidence, because 29 states have this law, that this will make our roads safer, reduce crashes, and save lives. That's a certainty, right? So, and I think the lives, just the live. I will be looking forward to seeing numbers down. I wish I could flash forward just to see not only the short term in the next 2 years, but also 10 years from now. What we talked about, that the awareness is a factor now. It's like gotten into our blood that everybody will be, what are you doing with a phone in your hand?
Yeah.
Where somebody in the car sees you put a phone in your hand, they're going to slap it down. Same as they would with a beer.
Totally. Yeah.
So
I think we'll get there.
that's great. So coming up next month, I just saw it come across my email, and we have it posted on our site as well, is the Gear Up fundraiser. And that is,
Yeah.
I will say, I've been to them before, and I will say not only fundraiser, but fun. It was fun. It was a definite fundraiser too. I've had a blast at that one. It's just a
Yeah.
great time, great community, and it's just awesome. Talk to us about that.
Well, thank you for bringing it up. And teeing me up to do a shameless plug. Yeah. So Gear Up is our annual fundraiser and bike celebration. It's on June 4th at the City Park Pavilion, which is a wonderful venue overlooking the lake. Drinks, food, um, a little bit of music, and fundraising. Because at the end of the day, we are a nonprofit, and passing laws like this distracted driving law, it doesn't happen without financial support. And this is an opportunity for the biking community to show up, connect with other people who ride bikes, talk, all things bike over some drinks and food, and support what we think is a really important cause. So yeah, hopefully your listeners will stop by on June 4th and say hi to me if they come. Love to meet them.
It's going to be great. It'll be fun. Any sneak peek to any cool auction items that you know of?
We got, oh my God, there's like Western Spirits trip. One of my favorites, I have to put in this plug.
Go ahead. That's what we're here for.
I love this place. So there's a ranch up north of Winter Park called Sea Lazy U. And I am not a ranch person. I have ridden horses, but I'm not a ranch person. It is, I think, one of 2 5-star ranches in Colorado. It is an elegant place. The accommodations, the food, and the owner, Don Bailey, is a passionate mountain biker and has been building single track, miles and miles of single track across his whole property. And when you go during a normal, like during the summer, you can only go like first thing in the morning, couple of hour window, and then at the end of the day, otherwise it's all horses. So Don, the owner of the ranch, has an invite only private 3-day mountain bike party. And so it's a really small group. I can't remember, like 20, 30 people. I'll be there. And yeah, we ride mountain bikes. We do a morning ride, an afternoon ride. He invites us to his house, which is on the property. We go up there and we have cocktails. It's just an amazing time. And even if you don't mountain bike, there's like gravel roads, and there's other things to do while you're there. And this is like a really unique item. And I first got dialed into it, by the way, because Don donated, I can't remember, like 2018. And I think it was my 50th birthday. And unbeknownst to me, my wife bought it.
Okay, yeah, you are younger than me. Yeah, you're a lot younger than me.
My wife bought it. And I'm like, what in the heck? And it's funny because I was looking at the spreadsheet the next day and I see Jen Piccolo, Sea Lazy U. So we went. I've been hooked ever since. So I go, and it's awesome. Sea Lazy U.
Cool. That sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. That's going to be a fun night. That'll be a fun trip, but that's going to be a fun night. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
So what else is going on?
Oh man. Well, let me let's how about we talk about a little bit of driver training? Is that okay? Can I put in another shameless plug?
Hey, this is your time.
So a little bit of backstory to Shift Driving, which is a roughly 1-hour digital interactive driver training course. It's free that you can access on our website. How that came to be. So roughly 5-6 years ago, we were partnering with Bike Fort Collins, who had a course called Bicycle Friendly Driver. And we received a grant that allowed us to hire somebody and travel the state to deliver this driver education training. I can't remember, we visited like 30 communities, and the demand for this training exceeded our ability to deliver it in a more traditional brick and mortar classroom setting. And so we got a second grant that allowed us to just create this free digital experience. And we just recently launched it. We haven't started yet promoting it aggressively, but people have been reaching out to us. Organizations have been reaching out to us, like governments who want to train their fleet drivers, some district attorneys who are using it as a diversion course. So somebody who has been cited for a traffic violation, this is part of their penance, so to speak. But our approach is going to be, we want to find organizations, whether they're nonprofit or for-profit, government, non-government, who care about traffic safety and specifically the safety of bicyclists and pedestrians, and want to promote, if not incentivize, people to take it. So an example may be an insurance company that would offer a discount, premium discount, for their customers who complete the course. So we could set up a special code for this insurance company, and we could report back to them the people who have taken the course. Our goal is for every Coloradan to access the content, and so they can initially take shift driving, but then maybe we're considering licensing out the content because we're also working on increasing the amount of bike ped content within state sanctioned education and testing materials. And that'll be part of the implementation of this other legislation I mentioned that just passed. Because at the end of the day, if you have a child who has taken any of these courses, it barely scratches the surface of bike ped safety issues. Mm-hmm. And so we think it's valuable, and we want to get it out there as free content and get people to take it. And we're looking for partner organizations. So again, if any of your listeners are in an organization and they want to encourage, or some of them require their teams to take it, or they want to promote it to their members or their customers, like an insurance company, give me a call and we'll get something set up. It's all free. It's all free. Mm-hmm. And this is just for the betterment of public safety.
Great. Well, that sounds very, very cool. Well, we're kind of running out of time a little bit, but I'm looking forward to Gear Up next month. We'll be there for sure, and we'll be adding a few things to the auction, I'm sure, too.
Yeah. Can I put one more plug out there?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
E-bikes. So I had a conversation with somebody yesterday about the evolution of public sentiment towards e-bikes. And they were asking, like, why do we have so many incentives for e-bikes? Because Colorado is really leading the way on this. And we're really proud of our work with the state and some municipalities across the state who have mm-hmm. e-bike rebates and discounts. And super interesting is when e-bikes really began to show up on the streets and bike paths of Colorado, and this is probably 5-6 years ago, the majority of our inbound communication from people was negative.
Oh, sure.
And the majority of the communication was people are cheating.
Well, yeah, which I can vouch for that. I was I was racing for Groove Subaru at the time, still with Groove, but when somebody on an e-bike takes your KOM on Strava,
I don't know how to deal with that.
It got to be the joking burn. It's like, okay, come on, you did not do 23 miles an hour on pedals going up.
I mean, that's
Berthoud Pass, but I mean that's kind of where the knee jerk was, and then it kind of took that curve down pretty fast, I think, once reality set in.
Yeah, I mean, that's unfortunate. And obviously within a race, there needs to be regulation
around
that. But the vast majority of people, again, it was like, I know it would come in and be like, oh, it's like a morning commute and somebody passed them on an e-bike and like, it's a big deal. Today, I never hear that. I never hear that. Now there's more
Oh,
concerns around just people being stupid, frankly,
yeah, I've seen that.
on a bike path, or we do have some issues, young people, like teens who are riding carelessly on e-bikes. But I think the vast majority of people are now seeing that the benefits outweigh the cons,
Oh,
and that to address the downsides, it's not to ban e-bikes. There's some other
oh my
things we
gosh,
need to
no.
do,
And
right?
from a personal opinion, I've been a fitness guy my whole life. I've been a personal trainer. When I wasn't racing bikes, I competed in CrossFit, all sorts of other activities because I've always wanted to stay healthy. And I think anything that will get somebody off the couch and get them out moving. And I've seen some great success stories and heard about other ones that have been brought out by e-bikes. I've talked to somebody who sold an e-bike from Pedigo to somebody who was literally over 300 pounds, and it was an e-trike. And they have lost over 150 pounds in the last 2 years, and
Yeah,
are now on they are now getting now they've got a two-wheel e-bike because she makes it a workout every time she's on it. But
yeah.
those kind of stories where you went from being sedentary to outside, anything that'll get you outside, and exercising, I am, put me on board. I'm in.
Yeah, I agree, and it's not to say that we have to address some of the things that are happening, like careless riding of e-bikes and acoustic bikes, for that matter. I mean, I ride the Cherry Creek trails every day,
Mhm.
and occasionally somebody on just a standard bike is not behaving, and yeah, we need to address all of that. But e-bikes, we're really bullish on e-bikes, and they've made a huge impact. And I think we're just seeing um, there's so much good to come with e-bikes, particularly as it relates to commuting. We're just seeing the early benefits of e-bikes on commuting. So, I mean, the last thing, Gary, before we hop,
Sure.
I'm doing all these shameless plugs here, is back to the fact that we're a member supported organization. Um, we're proud of the 10,000 plus paying members. Colorado is unique compared to other state advocacy organizations, the fact
Mhm.
that we have that strong member base. But we have research that says that roughly 2 million people ride bikes on a regular basis. And we need the support of the cycling community to pass these laws and policies, to secure funding for bike infrastructure, to do this education, to support bike events. And um, the fact that I understand why a lot of people don't get that. Like, so my ride, and I'm in like the Denver area. I have, my kind of go-to ride is I ride a nice kind of residential street. I feel pretty safe for about a mile. I have about a quarter mile, which is really dicey, and there's just nothing I can do about it. And then I get on a beautiful bike path, which I'm a fan of now. I wasn't 10 years ago, but I get on a beautiful bike path. I get out to Chatfield. I do the Deer Creek Canyon high grade. I generally feel pretty safe there. There's been some incidents, but there's enough cyclists. There's a shoulder on, a big chunk of it. Like that, those bike lanes, that bike path, the signage, like, unfortunately, our public processes, our government agencies don't work in a way where those things happen by default. They don't happen in their normal way of doing business. It still takes advocacy.
Mhm.
And so anyone who's riding on, a nice wide shoulder, we're gonna have to advocate for shoulders, certainly a bike lane, a bike path. When you're seeing 3 feet to pass signs, that stuff just doesn't fall out of the sky. Either Bicycle Colorado or a local advocacy group or just citizen advocates have made that happen. And so
Mhm.
if biking is important to you and to your listeners, again, whether it's for bike commuting or riding with your kids, or you're a racer and you're not engaged with Bicycle Colorado or even a local advocacy group, ideally both, I would ask them to please consider doing so, um, because the work is important. And again, the stuff just doesn't fall out of the sky. So that's my last
shameless plug. And I don't think any of them have been shameless. They've been really good plugs.
Thank you for that.
And, we love the fact that we're supporting Bicycle Colorado. 10% of the revenues of anything on our site, whether it's advertising, support on ours, any kind of, any revenues we do through our directory upgrades, 10% of that is going towards Bicycle Colorado at this time. And it'll only increase. So we're really proud to be able to make that commitment to you guys. And that's why we love supporting you. And I've been a cyclist in Colorado. I've lived here my entire life. And I've been riding a bike since I stole my big brother's bike at age 5. And I learned how to ride fast instantly because I didn't want to die. But, we're really proud to support you guys. And also, there are links on our page that will lead to Bicycle Colorado, as well as I was just thinking about doing this while we're talking, is I'm going to put a link up there that'll go directly to your membership page to sign up. And we'll do I'll put that on there. I'll talk to, if I need to talk to any of your staff today, Ashley or whatever, I will get that done and the wording done. So it literally will link and you can just go, hey, if you're on our site, you see that, click, boom, you can go join right then. So
that is awesome.
Really excited about this year, what's to come. Great start. Yesterday was a great start of it. Looking forward to upcoming events and really looking forward to working with you guys all year.
Likewise. And we appreciate the support and please keep up the good work.
Thank you very much, Pete. It's really been a pleasure having you on today. You have a great day and enjoy the rest of your week.
You too. Take care.
Bye-bye.